putting down some matte medium, and I'm going to be layering on some paper collage. So there I am searching around for something just to put down to start. And sometimes just to clear that white page, just start randomly putting down certain things. But I do think about, some elements. Since I'm doing two sides of the page, I put down these numbered paper. I'm going to do one side, I'm going to repeat it on the other side. And I also like to work with, if I'm doing horizontals, I like to counteract it with verticals. And then I'm bringing in some tissue paper. Again, I'm balancing on both sides, balancing with color, balancing with shape. So now I'm deciding to do some negative stenciling. So negative stenciling, you put down your paint thickly, make sure it's still wet, especially if you're using acrylic, and then you go in with the stencil over it, and then you're going to wipe it away with some baby wipes. Now, as you see in the corner there, I wish that wasn't in the corner, you see the Clorox wipes. Now, artists are that kind of people. You don't have what you need, you use something else you have. The good thing about this one is that it's very, very old. I found it in the bottom of a shelf somewhere, and it's bone dry. So whether it's probably not a good thing with the Clorox on it, but it was very, very dry, it wasn't wet. And this is my journal. And we make happy mistakes. We do all sorts of crazy things in our journals. We're exploring. And I didn't have any baby wipes, so I use that. But don't go out and buy Clorox wipes. You can get the baby wipes, okay? Or hand wipes. And that helps to remove the paint underneath the stencil. So as you can see there, I finally decided on my, the stencil that I'm using. And then I go in there. Now the ones I used were very dry, so I dampened it a bit with water, okay? But if you get the baby wipes, they'll be, sometimes some of the baby wipes, depending on the brand, might be too wet. But you can also always alter it, okay? So there I am. I go in with a heavy hand and I'm removing the paint through the holes of the stencil. And then you get some really cool patterns. So this is something you can practice along and see what sorts of fun things you can get. Now, as you can see, I moved the stencil and I take the same wipe because it's dirty with the color under it. It has the color on top, and I'm just spreading it around. So I get almost like a ghost of that pattern. I'm all about pattern, so I'm bringing the pattern across. Now, I've decided to use this palette. I wanted a neutral palette, earth tones. So I'm going in with these colors, the dark brown here. I'm not going to leave it like that because I start to wipe away the excess brown. And at this point, I just want you to know, at this point, I do not know what I'm doing. It's going through many stages. Some stages I like, some I don't. Some parts are looking dirty. But I'm determined I'm going to go through it. You have to go through the stages. Okay, so stick with it. Go through the stages. You're not going to get something pretty right away. And that is the great part and the exploration of working in your journals. I just love working in journals because it really takes away, all of that insecurity you might have when you're on a big canvas, a blank canvas, but in your book, you just feel so free. There's no judgment. And you're using certain techniques, but in the beginning, you're just putting down things. And then you can take away. You can cover up. So there's always a way. So I'm adding a little more color to make it pop. I have all the browns. So I'm going in with some yellows, brighten up some areas. And if I go in with the paint, sometimes I might use it with a little water to make a wash, or I might put it down thick and then wipe it away with a baby wipe as well. Okay, so I'm mixing it with a little white and then going in with the brown so I can get, like an in-between sort of color, like an yellow ochre, and then I go a little darker. And then I'm placing paint down. I have my collage first, so my collage is my background. And what I want to talk about with collage is that, you don't want any element in the piece to stand out like it's on its own. You have to blend all of your elements together. So many times if I'm doing collage and paint and mixed media, I like to, blur the edges of the collage so it's not a straight edge unless you want that. Blur the edges. So this piece is very painterly. And, we have different vibes that we want to put in to each page. So this one is more of a painterly one, more of a mixed media paint. And so this is kind of my style with layering, pushing and pulling. So there's a bit of a dance there, pushing and pulling. You're seeing it's taking on another level. So I'm wiping out things, smoothing things, smearing it across, and then I'm going to start seeing how I can pull things that I lost in the background back to the foreground. So that's always a constant push and pull. You put something down, it's right on top. And sometimes it's too busy with what else is going on, so you want to push it back. And pushing it back, you add paint. Okay, so the light paint that I mixed and I went over there, softened the edges, softened the collage, and created a space. Now I'm going in real bold here. I just realized that, hey, I need something to pop, and I go in with black because I know that I'm going to do the reverse stenciling again. So I'll have the black lines. Instead of big, large black area, I would have the black lines. So I'm going in and I'm going to, take off some of that. So I'm going to add some more and then take off. So you're going to see right here that I'm taking off that, not loving it too much. It's kind of gray and dirty, but I know ways that I'm thinking, well, maybe I can pull that off. So let's just go piece by piece. Let's see. Remember, as I said, you do something on one side, you want to do it on the other. Not the same, maybe a little echo of it or a lot. But you want to have a balance, as I said, a balance of color and a balance of pattern. Okay, so we're working left and right, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm playing around with these stencils. I got a whole new stash of stencils, so I am so excited. It's like so many now. Before I had hardly any stencils. Now I have so many. I'm just confused. Like, should I use this? Should I use this? Now this is a brand new one that I used. It's letters, like old-fashioned, like script. And I always love that. But this is a very, first time I'm using it. I use it with spray paint. I use some of these with spray paint and they come out, but it's pretty toxic. I don't do that. But I don't use it in my sketchbook. So I've decided to do, acrylic paint. So I have a bit of, I'm going in dark with the dark colors of the black and the brown and with a sponge. And I'm going to sponge through it. First time I'm sponging through it. So believe it or not. So that's what I'm saying. It's all experimental. So even me, for painting for many years, I go in with certain things I haven't used before and see what happens. So I like it and I don't like it. But, I say I'm not going to do much more. I might put a little bit on another side to balance it off. But I don't mind it. So I leave it. If I didn't like it, I would wipe it off. A baby wipe would wipe it right off. Okay, and then you can go in with that light color again. So it really is experimenting, trying new things, what works, what doesn't work. Don't get frustrated because pieces can take to another level and you get frustrated. See what works in areas and try it again. And mixed media is wonderful for this. You can do layer after layer. You can wipe things off. Okay. So as you see, I'm doing this again, but differently. So the first time I used the text, right, I dipped it in paint and I did it like how you usually do the stenciling. And then this one is a negative stenciling. So as you can see, I added in some yellow, bright yellow, but then pushed it back by using a baby wipe. Again, blending everything. So you don't want anything to be too harsh, to stand out. You want it to just kind of all play together nicely, pushing and pulling, some things sitting on the surface, other things pushing back. It creates dimension and depth. And as you can see here, I want to create more texture and contrast. So I'm adding in the black. It looks like, wow, what are you doing? But again, I'm going to go in with a negative stencil. All my beautiful stencils, use them up. But the negative stencil for me really creates some beautiful things. I love it. I really do. And so it allows me to push and pull with the layering that I do. But yet still getting a nice crisp edge of the black, a punch of that black against the neutrals, all binding it together. And I just want to talk about, I put the black at the base because I want to create some kind of weight, grounding. Okay, so you want to think about that in compositions. What feels heavy? You don't want the top of your page to feel heavy. You want to be weighted a little bit more on the bottom. So you can think about things like that. And so that's why I brought in the black element, but not fully. I still pulled it back, so I'm not losing all of those beautiful neutral colors, like the browns, the burnt sienna browns, the reddish browns, etc. So I use you saw earlier before, just now, I use my heat gun. That dries pretty fast in between, so I love that. I really do. And now I'm just pulling out some details. And these light circles, pulling those light circles right up on top of the surface. So at this point, you're going to see that I'm pulling out certain aspects. I'm seeing what I want to be the focal point and what I want the eyes to be drawn to. And so I'm going in with the lighter colors to create this kind of shape and form. It's an abstract piece, but I'm pulling out certain shapes and forms with the light colors. So watch and see as the video goes by with the time lapse. I'm pushing and pulling and playing. So this is the time you're really experimenting. But toward the end, you're pulling together and making it one. So if you see that I'm going in with the light color now, that is really going to glue everything together and then make things stand forward and push things back.